Hi there, traders. This is Brad Goodwat with the FX Market Insight for Thursday, the 22nd of April. All right, as we come into the Asian session, now pretty big moves during the North American session and primarily on dollar CAD, right? This is one of those key things that we haven't seen for a while. And it's, even if you missed this trade, just understand this is actually quite awesome, because what it means is the central banks are now in play. And what I'm talking about is the catalyst for this move was the Bank of Canada in their statement, basically saying, you know, they were thinking about raising rates in 2024. They've brought that forward, their expectations to 2022, I think it is. And that is like an interest rate hike straight away, right? It has the same impact. So this is a good thing because it now puts on alert all the central bank meetings, because the central banks, it's like one economy just doesn't work by itself. It's a global economy. So if the Bank of Canada is thinking this, that we may start to see the other central banks fall in line, and that is perfect for us, right? So if you don't understand what you're doing and what's happening in the market, you might have been sitting there looking at the Bank of Canada CPI data, etc. But the real thing was the Bank of Canada rate decision. Now, nothing was really expected, right? No change of rates expected, and we got no change of rates. But in that statement, they have the opportunity to come out and put their footprint as such on the market. And that's exactly what they've done, right? Bringing forward the expectations that interest rates may have to move in 2022. It doesn't mean they will do it, but this is trading the market's all about trading forward, right? So this is a really big thing going forward. And when we look at the impact there, right, it's really pushed the US dollar to the side as dollar CAD has really, gone bonkers. 126.30 down to, well, the low was under 124.60. I mean, that's a massive move, right? And as I said, you get these massive moves when the central banks do something unexpected. 183-point move in one or just over 1 hour. That's set the benchmark for what's happening in dollar CAD. So from this point on, you've got to start factoring in, you're probably selling rallies in dollar CAD, right? Or buying CAD against other currency pairs. Now, what's happened? Obviously, we see that 183-point move. The market's now trying to work out what's fair value for dollar CAD or the CAD right now after this announcement, right? So it'll take a day or two, but you'd expect this sentiment to be in play for some, or at least for the remainder of this week. And we'll see how it carries on for the rest of the month. Now, just have a look across the board here. Now, nothing else has really happened. Okay, what we're seeing is, I think we're seeing the US dollar move run out of steam. This is the dollar index. Obviously, euro is a massive part of that. Euro is starting to have a really, what I would start to call a gorgeous setup. Okay, if I just wind this out a touch, we've got, we've got trend lines. We've got this multi-high that it's sort of stalled at a number of times. We've got a good trend line here with 1, sort of 2, 3, sort of 4 touches. This is building up into a really nice profile. What we ideally would like, and this is the no-brainer trade, the break trade, is some euro data weakness, okay, or some negative comments from the ECB or some strong US numbers. And you'll see this thing drop from sort of 120 as it breaks down there, down to 118.80. It's got a really nice profile, and you've got to start sort of licking your lips at the opportunities here. Now, to me, the sterling, well, there's a bit of a question mark over what's happening in sterling, but we are starting to see Aussie, right, and Kiwi start to roll over. Now, they haven't exactly fallen out of bed, but the profile is there. You can almost bring this across the Kiwi support line. It's one of those slow burners, both Aussie and Kiwi. They would like this going up, so they sort of break down and then they sort of fall after the event. So just bear in mind, we've got good setups, is what I'm probably trying to tell you, is particularly on euro, Aussie and Kiwi. Well, they're there, but they're not as gorgeous as euro is. And have a look on the top side with the other pairs. I mean, you can see like dollar Swiss is making some inroads. It's already sort of snuck above that first little short-term resistance line, with the second one up around 92.30 in sight. You'd expect that to go, obviously, if euro sort of collapses. And the dollar index, well, you know what? It's starting to drift sideways, and which is a bit of a surprise too, because the main catalyst over the last sort of month or so, 6 weeks at least, has been the bonds, okay? And the yields have really fallen back into line, right? The 10, 20, 30 year, they've drifted back down to sort of where they usually sit. So, you know, lower yields usually means a lower dollar, but we've lost, the treasuries have lost their mojo, right? So don't worry so much. I would think right at the moment, don't worry so much about the treasuries. Like, keep an eye on the price, obviously. And if there's the big movement in the price up and down, then we could start to see what impact that has on the currencies and the equity markets. But lower yields today, higher equities, that is in line with normal market conditions. So outside of that, the majors, right, they're sort of treading time, waiting for that big move. Do we go? Do we get, we're waiting for it, but it just hasn't happened yet. Dollar CAD has set the benchmark for central banks, right? We're on alert now. Basically, I think we've got the Fed and the Bank of or the ECB next week. They will be highly anticipated because we could start to get the same sort of rhetoric from the central banks, and everything's going to be in fair play. Right now, what have we got? So to me, you've got to be keeping a close eye on euro, right? This thing has got a nice setup. You may actually be a euro bull. I was going to say bullish, but bull, and that could sort of lead to obviously weak US numbers or something to do with a weak dollar. We see this thing bounce again. I think it's running out of steam. I think the dollar, this down dollar move, even with the yields lower, and if the dollar bounces when the yields go lower, it's fatigue. The run has almost finished, and we may see these things turn around a little bit. Dollar Swiss, maybe the early move. This down move in dollar CAD has distorted what's happening on the dollar just at the moment. But so if that dollar CAD move hadn't turned up, the dollar may have actually been a lot higher today anyway, right? So just bear that in mind. This is a CAD move, not a dollar move. So dollar yen, it looks prime for a move to the top side. Dollar CAD downside. Aussie's already showing signs of weakness, as is the Kiwi. We just need that little push on these other pairs to get them going, but keep an eye on them. These pairs are primed. Dollar CAD at this point, well, you should maybe looking to sell up here, but I'd say dollar CAD is done for the moment. It's cooked. What we're looking for is something that's just getting thrown on the fry pan to run with that. Excuse me. And that's where we are at the moment. This is a good thing. So don't think just if you've missed dollar CAD, put that aside. We've got good opportunities coming up. We've got the technical setups. We just need the fundamental drivers to kick into gear. And that's what we're going to be looking at very closely going forward. All right. So keep an eye on all these other different things too. Like this is the stuff that you should be looking at. Like as we go through the Asian session and your early European session, the US equity futures. Keep an eye on what's happening on the majors as far as relative strength goes. See if there's any uniformity between the dollar and the dollar block. Obviously, keep an eye on the US Treasury prices and then the safe havens, risk on, risk off pairs and commodities. You've got so many instruments to trade. All we need is the setup and the driver, right? As I'm saying, I've pointed out a few for you there. So keep an eye on those, and it's all set up. Good luck trading today. Cheerio.